All right, so today our goal is to build towards making an asteroid game. So I'll just kind of give you a quick teaser of where we're going. This is not a finished product by any stretch of the imagination. We got lots of stuff we get to learn about, even a little bit about vectors. Can't go far in game design without learning a little bit of vectors. And this will likely probably be our last game we do together for a little while, because we're going to be learning some syntax and some additional things. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to start by just reviewing how to start up a Pygame Zero game, okay? And you need to make a folder, and I called my folder Game 4 Rocket Defend. I think Asteroids is already taken, but you could call it Meteors. So that's an idea. So when we import stuff, we are borrowing something else that's been written. I mean, most complex programs have to take in and use parts of other modules and programs and work together. I'm going to be doing a width today of 1,000 and a height of 800. And if I say pgzrun.go, I get the world's most boring video game. But it's always good to code a little, test a little, right? We've talked about how to change the title of our games, right? We've even looked at how to change the icon. It's a little bit different. You have to say icon equals and give it the path to something. But I'm going to say title equals Rocket Defend. I don't know why I felt Rocket Defend was a good way to go, but I did. And so you can see now it titles the window Rocket Defend. All right, so the first thing I want to do is put some starry background. So I am going to go into my Google Classroom and I'm going to throw out some images for us to use. I got some of these images from Kinney's and all that stuff, but I actually changed some of them to where they are pointing rightward instead of upward. So I'm just going to go ahead and kind of send that out. Of course. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I want you to use your own. This is just for demonstration purposes. So I've got these missiles. Now, if you are going to use your own, though, you just want to realize that at some point you're going to have to turn and rotate your images to where if you have a rocket pointing up, that it points to the right. All right, once you've downloaded those things, we can start loading up background. Well, all right, so you just want to make in wherever the folder you made for your Rocket Defend project, you just want to make a folder called Images and save those in there. I downloaded from Kinney's assets. I used Missile and Rocket from one pack, but I didn't upload these to the classroom, but I did these here because I turned them to the right for reasons that will become evident soon. And once you've got that done, we can go ahead and do a little bit of work here. Let's get a rocket and let's put it at 0. Well, not 0. Let's put it in the middle of the game. So I'm going to say width divided by 2, height divided by 2. And that'll be his initial position. and we'll write the def draw. Remember, the draw function has to be there for you to update your screen. It is called every time the screen is updated. And we could say screen.fill and give it a black color. But we're going to instead use a background image, which is a little bit weird, but it's blit. Screen.blit. Then you give it the image you want, which for me was stars. And then you give it the upper left-hand corner of where you want it to be drawn. And now I've got my kind of star field. And it's not too high-tech, but that's it. Well, now it's time to draw our rocket to the screen. So we just say rocket.draw. The next thing I want to do is I want you to practice making the rocket move by using the on key down key function. So go ahead and practice making it move. You can do the one where you make it, where you spam it. You have to click the buttons a bunch of times. If you want to be a little more advanced, you can go to trying to use the mappings that we've done before. So go ahead and at this time, try and do that, and then we'll check our work. All right, hopefully at this time you've practiced controlling your rocket with your keys. So here's kind of the simplest way, and there's nothing particularly wrong with this. In certain situations, this is actually a very nice way to do things when you want to just move one space at a time. We could say rocket.x minus equals 5 if I move left. So remember the minus equals and the plus equals? Well, minus equals actually takes rocket x position, takes away 5, and then stores it back in rocket x. So it changes it. Decreases it by 5. It's the change in it. Remember, keys is the keys is like a module that just has listed all the different keys on the keyboard with a special code. So I'm asking, does the key that was pressed, remember this function is called automatically when a key is pressed, does the key that was pressed, which is key, does it equal the value keys.up? If it does, oh, this should be an X here, sorry. And then elif key equals keys dot down. And I know some of you like to do WASD or whatever you want to, whatever you're comfortable with is fine with me. All right, so there we go. So hopefully now we have a rocket on the screen and an ability to move it around. Oops, I misspelled rocket. I also realized that I'm loading the wrong picture. So I need to, I have mine called Rocket Right. Let me go in there and change that right quick. Get the right images in there. All right, after some image renaming, I might have a little more luck here. So there's my rocket. I can move it up, left, right, and down. Okay, so that's good to know, right? The way this is happening is, remember, at every frame that is drawn is redrawing the entire background. So it's repainting the entire star field, and then it is redrawing the ship in the new location. Okay. Because that's what the blit does. It redraws that background. Well, I think we can do better than that, can't we? So what we're going to do is we're going to make a mapping. So here's how I'm going to make a mapping. I'm going to call it, let's see here. What should we call it? Presses, maybe. And when you make a mapping, what you're doing is you're connecting one variable to another. So I'm going to make a mapping that says up is connected to false. And down is connected to false. Up is connected to false. Oh, I've already done up. Left. And right. So let me run this right quick. And we're not using that mapping, so I'm just going to close the game and share it with you, though. So now that I've created this mapping, what I have is a variable called presses. And I can say presses square bracket up. And it shows me that it's false. If I want to change it, I just use the single equal sign to assign it a new value of true. So now while presses down is still false, presses up is true. So we're going to use that to our advantage. So now instead of when they press a key moving the rocket, we're going to change presses. So we'll say presses bracket left becomes true. Okay, so now I made the mapping assignments for each one of those. And what we're going to do now is we're going to say when the key is released, on key up, we're basically just going to do this exact thing over again, but we'll just be setting everything to false. So they can still spam key it like we have been, but now they can hold it down. That's the difference. They can hold it down and it continues to go. All right, so there's a function called update in the PyGame0 module. If we write the update function, this is called in between each flip of the screen. Between each frame update, between each frame drawing, I should say, update is used to update the locations of everything. And I'm going to write another function that's just going to be called update rocket. Because we're going to have a lot of different things we have to update in this program. So to update our rocket's location, we're going to use this. That if presses bracket left, we're going to move left 5. If right, we'll move right 5. And at this point now, we should be able to experiment with this and have perhaps a smoother operation. Oh, well, I have an error. Did I not call it? Oh, my right has a capital R for some reason. That doesn't make any sense. Try that again. All right, now I have this image here. Much smoother, much smoother. Okay. All right, so now that you should hopefully have a working flying plane, we're going to start launching missiles. But in order to do that, we need to review lists. Lists are so important in programming because they allow us to handle more than one item in a certain variable or even an unknown amount of them. So let's review lists. I'm going to start with a list I'm going to call nums. I can make a list with what I call an initializer, where I give it all the values to start with. 6, 3, 1, 9, -2, 5, 12, 3. So just 4, maybe. Just a list of numbers, okay? And you can see that there they are right there. I can just look at them because I'm in my interactive shell. We can append to our list using the append command, we can remove from our list, but we have to tell it exactly what number we want to remove, like 9. And then the 9 will be removed from my list. I can also do what's called pop. And if you use pop, you tell it the index. So for example, 6 is in index 0, so I'll tell it pop 0. And then you'll notice that the 6 is now gone. I'll just get that more to the center of the screen there. So maybe if I want to remove the 5, I would say nums dot pop, and the first index is 0, so it's 0, 1, 2, 3. So if I pop 3, I should get a 5. Now, when you want to just access something, you use a bracket and you put in the index. So say I want to access a -2. The first index is 0, the next index is 1, the next index is 2. So the -2 is actually at 2. Now it's still there. I didn't pop it off or anything like that. I just accessed it. I could do nums 4, which would be 4. How about 5? Okay. If you need to know how many items are in your list, you use len. And so a computer science 1 student should be somewhat familiar with lists. They should know how to find the number of items in the list with the function len. Know how to access a specific items at an index. Like maybe nums bracket 3 gives me the 4th number in the list. We should know how to remove a specific item. This is going to search for an item and remove it. Notice it didn't remove the 3rd index. That would have been 12. It removed the number 3. Okay? And pop if you want to remove a certain item in an index. All right. Well, we're definitely going to need to use lists to handle stuff in this project. So let's go back and look at it. Going to add another item here. So on key down, we don't want someone to be able to hold this down. They have to spam it, and we actually might limit how often they can do this, and we'll look at that later. So we're going to add in the on key down function, we're going to add another key. And instead of setting a presses key, I'm just going to directly call something. So I'm going to say presses if key, remember key on key down is called when someone presses a key. Key holds the code of what key was pressed. I'm asking, does it equal? We use 2 equal signs to ask if something is equal. Does it equal keys dot space? Or whatever key you want to use. If it does, we're going to call this function here, the fire function. I think you can imagine what that does, right? It does not light the computer on fire. Although I bet there is something we could do to do that. Start overclocking our PC or something. But we're not going to do that. Instead, we are going to fire a missile. All right, so let's write missile. Def fire. All right, I guess I should just call it not fire. I should call it fire missile, but whatever. Fire missile in game, not in real life. That's the name of this function. All right, so we're going to make a missile called M. Now, that's not a very good variable name, right? But you can use a poor variable name if it's just temporary, I think. Actor. And I'll be using the missile picture. All right. So now we've got All right, so we've got a missile. We just need to add it. But the way we're going to add it is to a list. So we're going to go up to the top of our program where we define our global variables, and we're going to make this a global variable as opposed to a local variable in our functions. And the nice thing about using list as global variables is we very rarely have to actually say global, because all we're doing is calling things like listils.append and things like that. So just like the actor, it works really well globally. All right, so we got missiles. That's an empty list, right? So when we fire our missile, we are going to append it. And that's it. Although, you know what I was thinking? We should probably put our missile at a specific place. I think the missile should start out at our rocket. So I'm going to make it remember the XY location for the initial location needs to be in parentheses, and I'm going to give it the X and Y coordinate of the rocket. All right, so if we run this code, we should be able to fly around. Oh no, we can't run this code yet because we're not drawing the missiles to the screen. We're adding them behind the scenes. We're not drawing them. We got to go up to the draw and we got to draw them all. So how do we draw them all? Well, like this. For I in range, length of the missiles list. So I in range. Let's review for I in range. It's definitely been a few days since we've done that. So if I say for I in range 20 or 30. Well, hold on. It wants me to. I was hoping it would just print it. For I in range 30, print I. What's going to happen is it's going to print all the numbers 0 through 30. So what if I had a list called nums, and my list was, 8, 3, or 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, just some random numbers. Whoa, they're getting bigger. All right. If I say for I in range, len nums, print I, what you're going to see is, let me print it all on one line, actually. So I'm going to do a little trick. I'll say end equals. Oh, I'm missing the word in. All right, well, hold on. Clear that. You'll notice that it prints 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Now, nums is not those numbers, but the indices are 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So if I want to actually print the nums, instead of printing I print nums bracket I. Now it's, instead of doing the I value, it's doing the num at that I. That is absolutely essential that you understand. Now that we've hopefully got a good handle on how that's going to work, we can see how to draw each and every missile on the screen. So we're going to say, for I in range len missiles, I say missiles, which is the name of my list, bracket I, dot draw. And so now we should be able to fly around the screen and paste missiles places. In and of itself is kind of satisfying, frankly. I feel like it's like I'm just right in this moment of time, and then all of a sudden they're going to start zooming off. But they don't. They don't go anywhere. So we want to be able to make these missiles move. It's pretty neat to sit there and drop little missile bombs everywhere, but we want them to fly around the screen. So remember, update is the function called every time before each frame to update all of our actors. And it's usually considered good style to, in the update function, call sub-functions, subroutines, if you will, to update each different thing. Because I don't want too much code here in my update. My update should really be like, okay, we're going to do this, 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 this. You know, not a description of how those things are done. More of a description of what task to do. So now we're going to update missiles. And so we got to write that code. So basically, you know, right now the way we have this game set up is all my missiles are pointing to the right. So if that's the way they're going to be, I've just got to make them all move to the right some. And I'm going to introduce a local variable, not global, just local, to make my coding not have magic numbers, okay? So I'm going to call it mSpeed for missile speed, and I'm going to call it 10. Now, I don't want to just move one missile. I want to move them all. So notice how I'm going to loop through my missiles again. And there's nothing special. There's nothing special about the letter I. It's just kind of traditional. I could put K, and I will sometimes, X, Y, for missile index if I want to be really explicit about what I'm doing, okay? But I want it to go through the range of all my missiles, and I'm going to say missiles, bracket I. Remember, missiles bracket 0 is the first missile, bracket 1 is the second one, and I is going to be each one of those. So each one of them, one at a time, is getting this command. We're going to make their X plus equal the missile speed. And so, yeah, I could just put the 10 there, but I feel like this is a little easier to see. Okay, this is the speed of the missiles, and you're adjusting X by the speed. So we now should have the ability to fire some missiles. Which in and of itself is pretty fun. But there is a problem. I'm just going to close that off right quick, and I want you to look at something with me. I had 77 missiles in my missile list before I was done. If I played this game long enough, I'm going to have a very long list of missiles. And at any one particular moment, there really weren't that many missiles on the screen. So I think it makes sense that we remove missiles when we can. So we're going to add that code right here. We're going to say if missiles bracket I dot X is greater than the width of the screen, missiles dot pop I. Which means remove the ith index of missiles. Remove the ith missile. Okay. What happened? Okay, so, but there is one other issue with this. Once I remove a missile, what's going to happen is the missile list gets smaller. So I want to show you how that works here. Let me show you the problem, and then we can talk about how to fix it. So if I say have a list called N, all right? And I'm just going to list a bunch of numbers, okay? And I'm going to say for I in range len in. Print in bracket I. All right, works pretty well, right? Let me clear that again, and then I'll say like that. But what if I said for I in range, len in, and I said print in bracket I, but if in bracket I is equal to 4, or in bracket I is equal to 8, in dot pop I. Look what happens. We get an error that says list index out of range. Let's talk about why that would happen. So this len here is only computed one time. At the original moment that I made my list, it had 10 items in it. So I is going to go 0 through 9. But I removed a couple of items. And so when that happens, when it's going to keep trying to keep going and give us this error. Okay, so the error is like, look, I got that many items, which is now means I only have 8. So if I say like in bracket 12, that's not going to work because there's only index 0, 1, 2. So as you can see, removing something from a list in a for loop is a bad idea. So can you think of another way we could do this? Well, the answer is use a while loop. So I'm going to start with that. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to say I equals 0. And I'll say while I is less than the length of the list, if in bracket I is equal to 4, in dot pop I. Oh, I'm in an infinite loop. Hold on. All right, I have to manually advance I though. And now you can see that it did not hurt it. I removed 4 and it works fine. So the secret is while loop. So let's do that. We're going to say I equals 0. And then we're going to say while I is less than the length of the missile. So that's the key, is that if it's a while loop, this gets computed every single time. But we do have to manually advance I. Now we should be able to fire our missiles properly and not have any problem. And when I'm done with this program, I cut it off with about 3 missiles still on there. But if I check my variables after the program, if I say missiles, you'll see there's only 3 of them. And they're Pygame 0 actors. And that's where they're stored at, right? So by doing that, we're going to keep our program from slowing down over time by keeping the list at a reasonable size. So at this point, I think this is a good stopping place for now. What I'd like you to do is to play around with some things, see what you can do, and I'm going to give you a challenge. I want you to see if you can put an asteroid out there, a meteor, and see if you can loop through your missiles and detect a collision with the meteor and have the meteor remove and the missile remove. Now, you may have noticed in my introduction that I was flying a little differently, and we'll talk about that more later. But this is a nice thing to have in your hip pocket, how to make a ship just fly around up and down. Other things you can do is that you could make the ship not move forward or back, but the stars pan from right to left by making an actor that you draw first that is the size of this entire backdrop, and have this actor move to the left while there's another actor back over here. That's the same image, and have both actors move to the left. When the first actor gets all the way off to the left, the next actor is on, and when that actor is all the way to the left, off the screen, move him over to the other side. And so you can get this continuous background. And so instead of moving right and left like we are right now, you let the user move up and down, but they have the impression of moving from left to right based on the star field. So that's another challenge I'm going to give you to try until we learn some more stuff and do some more things.